Hello and welcome back to Daily English with Lily and Leo. I'm Lily.
And I'm Leo. And today we are talking about something that affects every single day of your life, whether you notice it or not.
Habits. Good ones, bad ones, the ones you keep meaning to build and never quite do.
And the ones you've had for years without ever choosing them.
Those are the most interesting ones. And before we jump in, if you're new here, welcome. Subscribe to the podcast. It's free, it takes 10 seconds, and you'll get a new episode every week. We would love to have you with us.
And if you've been here a while, you're wonderful. Let's get into it.
So, habits. I want to start with something very small. Every morning before I do anything else, I fill the kettle. I don't decide to, I just do.
Before you're even awake.
Basically on autopilot. I put my feet on the floor, walk to the kitchen, fill the kettle. The tea comes after, but the kettle first. And I only noticed this because one morning, the kettle was already full. I'd filled it the night before, and I stood there with my hand on it, feeling completely confused.
Your brain didn't know what to do.
Completely lost. The routine expected an action, and the action wasn't needed. It threw me off for about 30 seconds.
That's fascinating. The trigger was waking up. The action was the kettle. The brain just ran the program without asking you.
Exactly. It had become automatic. I wasn't making a decision. The habit was making it for me.
My mornings are significantly less structured. Biscuit wakes me up now, which at least it's consistent.
She sits on you until you open your eyes?
Sits on my chest and stares. The moment I open my eyes, she starts purring. She doesn't do anything. She just applies weight and stares until I move.
Very effective.
Surprisingly effective. And the thing is, I was already awake last Tuesday before she arrived, just lying there. And I realized I was waiting for the cat. I needed the trigger.
Without the trigger, the habit doesn't start.
Without the trigger, I just lie there, which is the one real downside of being a night owl. The mornings have no natural rhythm for me. I have to be pushed into them.
For me, it's the opposite. If the morning goes well, everything else follows. If I miss the run, something feels slightly off all day, like a gear that's not quite in place.
And when did the running become a real habit? Not just something you were trying, but actually locked in?
I think it was about 3 months in. I'd been running every morning for 10 weeks or so, and one morning, I slept through the alarm, completely missed it.
And what happened?
I woke up at 9, and my first thought wasn't panic or guilt. It was, I want to go for a run. Not I should, I want to. That's when I knew something had shifted. The habit had become mine.
It stopped feeling like effort.
The effort was still there, but I wasn't fighting it anymore. The urge had flipped direction. Before the habit was set, I had to push myself toward it. After it was set, missing it created its own discomfort.
I had that with reading before bed. I started doing it because Tom made me a sleep playlist, and I needed something to replace the phone in bed scroll. At first, I had to decide every night, okay, book now.
And now?
Now, if I try to sleep without reading first, I just lie there. Something feels unfinished. My brain isn't settled. It needs the chapter.
Tom did that. He made a playlist, you fell asleep to it, started reading instead of scrolling, and now it's just part of how you work.
He'd be very smug if he knew.
Tell him. He deserves it.
He's already sitting on his porch being right about everything. He doesn't need the encouragement. Can I tell you what I was thinking about this week in terms of habits?
Go ahead.
David. He spent years in an office doing something he was decent at but not connected to. And then he retrained as a plumber. And I think what people miss about that story is it wasn't one big decision. It was 100 small ones. Show up to class again, put in the time again, build a new skill from zero.
The habit of showing up.
Exactly. And now he's somewhere that feels right. He fixes real things with real skills. The work has momentum, but it started with a decision he had to repeat every single day for 2 years before it clicked.
I think about Nina the same way. When she left the corporate job to teach yoga, her income dropped at first. She had to stick to the decision through a difficult period, and slowly it built. She started dreading Mondays less and enjoying the weeks more.
She told me something I keep coming back to, that the most stressful part of her old life wasn't actually the workload, it was feeling completely disconnected from her body, like a brain sitting in a chair.
That sentence has stayed with me since she said it.
And now she teaches people to reconnect. The whole arc makes sense, but it only makes sense looking back. While she was in it, she just had to keep going.
That's the thing about building something. You can't always see the shape while you're inside it.
I want to ask you something. What about habits that are hard to break? Not habits of avoidance, actual habits with a pull.
Scrolling, the obvious one. I talked about my phone in episode 4. I had about 4 hours of screen time a day without meaning to. And I didn't fix it through willpower. I changed the environment, moved the apps, put the phone in another room at night.
Because willpower runs out.
It runs out every time. You cannot resist the same thing 70 times a day. You have to change what's in front of you so you don't need to resist at all.
I still scroll. I want to be honest about that. My screen time is somewhere between this is fine and I need to rethink this. I'm aware of the habit, I just haven't made the change yet.
You know what to do.
I know exactly what to do. I am choosing, for the moment, to know it and not do it. That's also a habit, the habit of postponing things I know I should address.
You said that very clearly.
Journalism training. I'm good at describing problems. Speaking of default habits I have not addressed, the mystery box is still sealed. Has been for 2 years. I was thinking about it as a habit of not dealing with things.
Avoidance is a habit too.
And now Biscuit sleeps on it, which means the avoidance has a legitimate structural purpose. She needs that box. I am protecting her routine.
Very creative.
I've made peace with it. And the someday jar is at €4.60. I went to take 20 cents on Tuesday for a coffee, and Biscuit just looked at me. I put it back.
The cat is managing your finances.
She's a better financial guardian than I am. I accept this. Oh, and the pizza habit. I want it on record. Dinner. Every time. It is an event. It deserves the evening. It should be savored.
Cold morning with tea. The best possible version of the meal.
Every episode without fail.
It's a tradition. Okay, grammar. And this topic is almost designed for it.
Almost?
Completely designed for it. Today we're talking about narrative tenses, how to tell a story in English, specifically how past simple, past continuous, and past perfect work together.
I use all of these. I'm not always sure which is which.
That's exactly why we're here. So when you tell a story that happened in the past, you usually need 3 things: the background, the main events, and the context for what came before.
Background, action, and before the action.
Exactly. Past continuous gives you the background, what was ongoing when something happened. Past simple gives you the main events, what happened in sequence. And past perfect gives you the earlier context, what had already happened before the story started.
Give me an example from today.
Okay, I was walking to the kitchen, past continuous, background, and action in progress, when I reached for the kettle, past simple, the main moment, but it had already been filled the night before, past perfect, earlier context.
So the past continuous sets the scene, an action in the middle of happening.
Right, and you often use it with when or while to link it to the main event. I was making tea when I heard the alarm. 2 things happening at different speeds, one ongoing, one sudden.
I was lying in bed when Biscuit arrived on my chest. Was lying is the background, arrived is the main event.
Perfect. And if you want to add something that happened before, that's past perfect. By the time Biscuit moved in, she had already been living outside the building for months.
Had been living, past perfect, earlier ongoing action.
Exactly. Let me give you a longer example with shape. David was working in an office for years when he decided to retrain. He had been feeling invisible for a long time before he finally made the move. When he enrolled in the plumbing course, he hadn't done physical work since childhood.
Okay, was working, background, ongoing situation, decided, main event, had been feeling, already true before the main event, hadn't done, something not done in the period before.
The story has layers. The past continuous gives you the scene. The past simple moves the story forward. The past perfect tells you what came earlier.
It's like a film. Wide shot, then the close-up, then the flashback.
That is the perfect way to think about it.
Can I try a full one?
Please.
Nina had been working in a corporate job for years before she decided to leave. She was sitting at her desk one afternoon when she realized she hadn't felt connected to anything she was doing for a very long time. That was the moment everything shifted.
That is excellent. Had been working, past perfect continuous, earlier ongoing state. Was sitting, background. Realized, main event. Hadn't felt, past perfect. No connection in the period before.
All three tenses in one story.
That's how real storytelling works. A common mistake is using only past simple for everything. She worked, she sat, she realized. It's not wrong, but it's flat. The narrative tenses give the story texture and depth.
Like telling a story without music. Technically complete, missing something.
Exactly. One more note. Past perfect continuous specifically. Had been doing. Used for ongoing actions that were happening before your main past event.
I had been meaning to open that box for 2 years before the cat made it irrelevant.
Perfect example.
The action, meaning to open it, was ongoing in the background, and it was all already happening before the cat arrived and claimed it.
Exactly right. Past perfect continuous for extended earlier actions. So to summarize, past simple for the main events, past continuous for what was happening in the background, past perfect and past perfect continuous for context from before. Use them together when your story has different time layers.
Which most real stories do.
Which most real stories do. Vocabulary. 5 words from today.
Ready.
First word, routine. A regular sequence of actions you do in the same order, usually at the same time.
My morning routine now involves a cat, confusion, and eventually coffee. Not always in the same order.
Second word, trigger. Something that starts or causes a behavior. In habits, the trigger is the cue that launches the action.
Waking up is the trigger for filling the kettle. Biscuit sitting on the chest is the trigger for getting out of bed. The kettle whistling is the trigger for making the tea. Triggers all the way down.
Third word, willpower. The inner ability to control yourself, to resist something tempting, or to keep going when you don't feel like it.
Willpower is useful, but it runs out. Better to design your environment so you don't have to use it 70 times a day.
Fourth word, automatic. Done without conscious thought, like a reflex, something you do without deciding to.
Filling the kettle before you're fully awake. Automatic. Scrolling through your phone before you've checked the time. Also automatic. Some automatics serve you better than others.
Very honest. Fifth word, momentum. The force that keeps something moving once it's started. In habits, once you have momentum, it becomes easier to continue than to stop.
David's retraining had momentum. Nina's yoga practice has momentum. The someday jar has momentum. €4.60, fully guarded, going nowhere.
Routine, trigger, willpower, automatic, momentum. 5 words for talking about habits, behavior, and how change actually works. Write them down. Use them this week.
And for the grammar, when you're practicing narrative tenses, try telling a short story with all 3 layers. What was happening in the background, what happened, and what had already happened before.
Leave your story in the comments. Something real, something small. We read every single one, and we love seeing how you use the grammar.
It really does help to see it from real life, not just from textbook sentences.
Okay, motivation. And today's feels personal.
The whole episode was leading here, wasn't it?
Maybe it was. We talked a lot today about the phase before a habit is set, that difficult stretch where you have to decide every day, where it still feels like effort, where nothing has clicked yet. And that phase is exactly where most people stop.
Because it doesn't feel natural yet.
Because you're still making a decision every day, and that's tiring. And it's very easy to think, maybe this just isn't for me. Maybe I'm not someone who does this.
But the click is coming.
The click is coming. I can't tell you exactly when. It's different for every habit and every person. But for almost everything you do consistently, there is a point where it stops feeling like a fight and starts feeling like part of you.
David couldn't have predicted that fixing pipes would feel more like him than sitting in a spreadsheet. Nina couldn't have known teaching yoga would feel right until she was actually doing it.
You have to get through the before it clicks phase. You have to be in the uncertain part for a while. That's not a sign something is wrong. That's just what building something feels like from the inside.
The shape only makes sense when you step back and look.
So, if you're in the middle of something right now, a habit you're trying to build, a skill, a change, and it doesn't feel right yet, that's not information about the destination. That's just information about where you are in the process.
Keep going. One small, imperfect action at a time.
1% every day.
1% every day. That's the whole thing.
The momentum builds. You just can't always feel it while it's happening, but it's there.
Closing time. What's the challenge this week?
Pick one habit you want to build, just one. And instead of thinking about motivation or willpower, think about the trigger. What will tell your brain, now is the time?
Design the environment. Remove the obstacle. Make the first action easy enough that you don't have to decide.
And tell us in the comments, what's the habit? What's the trigger? We genuinely love reading what you're working on.
And if you're not subscribed yet, please do. It's free, it helps us keep going, and it means you'll never miss an episode.
Share with someone who's trying to build something new, or someone who has had one mysterious box in the corner of their flat for 2 years.
The box is a lifestyle choice. Biscuit approves.
Thank you for being here today. This one was a good one.
It really was. Thank you for spending the time with us. You're doing better than you think.
Take care of yourselves. See you next week.
Bye.